So I'm in the middle of fixing the screen on the 2015 Escalade. We're going to replace the screen up here because there's a good crack right there and it won't register whenever you touch anything. So I know there's a lot more informative videos online, but this is kind of like what worked for me. The online, I went on Amazon and there's about a $30 screen replacement you can get, and it's pretty cheap. It comes with these tools too, which you're gonna need these. They come in handy. So basically, I started off with this wood looking piece right here. I popped this one off first. You just work it underneath it right down the center and pull out, and that pops right off. There's just two little clips holding that, and that was easy. That took about 10 seconds to get out. And then I did the same process over here on that wood piece, going over the wood looking piece. It's kind of fragile, so you just gotta get under it and work it. So after that, I came over here and popped this one up, the part with that start stop button, and that one you got to kind of work at a little more. It's a little stubborn, but what I did was I popped this under the steering wheel, this piece here. You just pop that down because it actually interlocks behind it. So once you do that, I pulled up and out towards me, up and back, and then you got to kind of pull that down and work that piece up and around. And then once you get it out, you just got to unplug this. So that was easy. And then this one came a little easier. That one, same thing, up and then back towards you, and pop them out of those clips. So, and then after that was this trim piece going around, and that kind of, it was a little more fragile, so I had to kind of work that one a lot slower. Just work your way top down, popping out of those little pieces as you go. And same thing over here, and that came out pretty easy. So all of this pretty much took me about 5 minutes. So if you got the right tools, it goes pretty easy. So the only thing now is popping these screws out, and that's a 932 bit. It goes in there. There's like 6 of them. And then after that, you just pop it right out, and there's about 3 or 4 wires you got to unplug. And that's it. So I hope that helped out. So now we have the harness out in our hand. And that was a 932 bit. There was 6 of them, those screws that go around. And what I had to do was pop that bottom CD receiver there, just pop it out, and then it just drops down a little. And that gives you enough room to pull this thing out. So it wasn't too hard. You just gotta kind of work at these a little. But all in all, that once all that was exposed, I had about 3 minutes into that, so that was easy. So hope that helps. So now that we have it out, basically it's just these star bits. There was 6 of them that have to be removed. You know, these 2, take those off, and then this just pops off the side controls there. And then same as that side, it just kind of interlocks with these little tabs there. So that's a number 10 Husky star bit I just used. And then after that, we have 13 Phillips head screws going around. We have to take off on the bottom as well. Pretty much all of these to get that harness off. So once those 13 screws are removed, this back piece just pops right off. So there's 8 Phillips head screws that are a bigger size, and then 5 that are a little smaller, so you're going to need one of these little smaller Phillips heads to get in there. So once that's off, you're going to have to go in and pop this little tab wire out right there, and then come over here and you see these 4 Phillips head screws. That top one right there, we're just going to want to loosen up a bit on both sides, and then it just gives you a little bit of mobility as you're trying to work it out. So next step, you have these 5 screws right here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you'll pop those out, and then you're able to pull this back. And you can see these little tabs right here. You got to pull those out, and it should just pop right out. Okay, I got this bottom piece out now. That took a little work, but we had to take out these 2 screws as well. And what I found is, let me turn this on the side. There's these little screws right in there with that little washer on them, right down in there. And you want to back those off a little because they were kind of holding the side there. And then once you do that, it just pops down. And then I pulled this piece forward just a little bit, and it just gave me enough leverage just to slide that down and out. So hope that helped. Okay, next we have to pull this little wire out here. So there's this little tiny black tab. You just pry it up, and then this wire just pops right back. So after that, we're gonna have to work on taking the front screen out. So there's 8 screws holding it. You got 1, 2, 3 down here, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. And that back one's a little tricky to get to, so you might have to work at it. So now we have the old screen off, and now we're about ready to put in the new one. Just be careful you don't touch the main screen, because it's really easy to leave fingerprints, which I made that mistake. So also, when you're taking it off, there was another screw right down there I forgot to mention, but it comes off pretty easy. Now I'm just ready to pop this one on, take the film off the back, and then feed that wire back through on the bottom, and then just put the screws in on reverse order. So we got the new screen put in now. I used just a small Phillips head instead of the impact gun there, just because I didn't want to over tighten any of those going around. So once that was in, I popped that wire back in, the little tab, and pushed down that little black tab once that was slipped back in. And I'm going to actually take this over and test it in the car right now before we go through everything else to put it back together. As you can see here, I just popped in the first 2 wires there, the center and then to the right, and I'm just testing it out to see how well the touchscreen is. Honestly, it seems to be working pretty well. So I'm going to put everything back in reverse order and get it back together. So now we got it all back together. And once I had the screen put in place, I probably had about 10 minutes putting everything back, and then another 5 screwing everything in here, and now we're back and everything seems to be working good. So what I'll do now is I'll pop that trim piece going around on I'll pop the bottom ones in first and then work my way up. Pop that in first, and then I'll go with this side piece here, pop that in. I'll get this one in once I'm done here. Get it around that groove there, as I mentioned, and then pop it back. And then we just have these two little wood pieces to put on, and then we should be good to go. So I hope that helps. I'd like to do more of these in the future, and if you found it helpful, let me know. Thanks.